Right then, let's get this thing started. Think we'll stick with normal difficulty for now? Unfortunately, we're going to have to save the incidents in the Metroid Prime series for after we're done dealing with the 2D Metroids at the very earliest. Well, of course Samus was the best candidate. Everyone else who runs into the damn things generally dies the moment they see one. Well, the outright horrors are gonna have to wait for Nintendo's official remake of this same story, but this one will still be a fun ride. Now, on one hand, I kinda wish that there was at least some comment on the fact that Samus had to get a new ship after Zero Mission. But then, we never really get any explanation for why she always starts off without a lot of the upgrades she gained in previous games. So the fact that she gets a ship of the exact same design, as if that's the most natural thing, is hard to really complain about. Now, if nothing else, I appreciate the fact that Samus takes up less of the screen in this game compared to Zero Mission, and we get a larger view of our surroundings. And it's nice how the backgrounds move as we move. Oh wow, the fans who designed this even gave us some reading material. And it's rather convenient to go to the options and shift things around in the middle of the game. On the one hand, it feels a little unfair to compare this fan-made remake for the PC with an official release on a handheld system that was made several years before this thing was released. On the other hand, it's nice to see what passionate individuals can do if they don't have too much to worry about in terms of deadlines and just take their time to get things done, especially when they're using different tools than the official releases to get the job done. The enemies don't really have the sort of look that makes me think these things belong in a Metroid game, but then the non-boss enemies aren't something we generally paid that much attention to in the previous game for the most part, so hard to really complain about that. Still just uncoordinated enough to just drop myself into easily avoided damage. Guess the extra run through Zero Mission didn't remove all the kinks. As a side note, that picture with a Metroid and a number underneath it right next to the minimap is how we know how many Metroids are in a given section of this planet. For this first section, we're only have to kill the one. Pretty easy to tell what those crawlers are supposed to be replacements for. Not so sure about the frogs and the flying drones, though. Would it be considered absurd to mention I like the water droplets in this game? And the bubbles when we're underwater? If Zero Mission had those nice touches as well, I certainly don't remember them. Well, okay, there were some bubbles that came up out of nowhere in Zero Mission, but I don't recall any being formed because of Samus being in that specific spot in the water. And when we get to Nintendo Samus Returns for the 3DS, the graphics are gonna look even better than this. Though that'll be followed by the graphics going down again when we get to Super Metroid, the oldest game in this particular collection here. Really, there's not much to say this early on for this game itself. I appreciate the fact that we start off with the ledge grab, morph ball mode, and a decent starting supply of missiles, though I think that's also going to be the case for Samus Returns. Hell, the more fallen missiles thing were probably the case back in the absolute original Metroid 2. Missiles are our main means of damaging Metroids, especially before we find the Ice Beam. So it only makes sense for us to have a good supply of rockets when the only bosses in this game are different forms of Metroid. And of course, it wouldn't be a Metroid game without me dropping into the lava. Still not a fan of seeing lava boiling like that. It's a bright orangish red liquid in a cave. I think it's easy to guess it's a super hot thing, and a bad idea to jump into. And I can't help chuckling at myself for praising one bit of attention to detail, and for another groaning and saying it doesn't feel especially necessary. And I should probably mention my opinion on the save points in this game. Sure, you can just jump onto them and then keep moving so it doesn't feel like it encourages you to take a break right then and there, but the way they're set up makes it easier to forget when and where you saved, which makes loading for any reason feel a bit more disorienting in its own right. What a surprise! The frogs don't seem to be bothered by the water at all. Okay, genuinely surprised that they can spit at us like that. Ah, well, at least it's certainly easier for me to choose to aim downwards diagonally in this game than the last one. And it's nice to see that once again, save points will refill ammo and energy. Would have been rather annoying if I had to hunt for that obscure upgrade again. Our first Metroid on this planet. As you can tell, none of them are gonna have the iconic jellyfish form that they've shown in just about every other game. Now, despite the fact that this game does what it can to make these fights work, they're hamstrung by the fact that their AI isn't all that intelligent. So it generally doesn't take us long to figure out how to kill each form in this game in a hurry. And it's going to take us a while to run into forms that can at least give us the illusion of an actual fight in this game. Okay, so apparently killing all the Metroids in a given area somehow creates seismic shifts that affect the flow of lava in this cave system? Well, I wouldn't say it altered the cave layout. The caves are pretty much the same as they were before the quake, but at the very least that bit of text tells us the quake wasn't anything natural. Probably a worrying sign. Also a bit of a worrying sign that search and rescue is a secondary objective for the people the Federation already sent here. I'd make a joke about the Federation not giving a damn about casualties, but to be fair, on a world with predators this bad, the chances of survival are very low. So they sent the research team in because after everything that happened in the Metroid Prime trilogy, they were confused that the Metroid homeworld had gone completely quiet. Kind of understandable, really. Little hard for me to say if that elite title is false or not when we tend to work alone, and it's not like we've ever fought against Federation troops either. And it's certainly hard to judge them about not being able to rescue anyone or themselves on a planet that is the Metroid homeworld. The damn things are not easy to deal with by any stretch of the imagination, especially if you don't have the right gear for it. If resistant to conventional weapons, just what kind of gear was the rescue unit given before dropping onto this death world? Indeed. The most iconic form of the Metroids is their youngest stage. And for convenience sake, this is the only place they change forms for some reason. A reason that's probably something along the lines of Nintendo not wanting to have to remember all the little details of every form of Metroid in every game where the damn things appear. I've got the distinct feeling Samus didn't write any of these data entries we've been reading. Not that I really give a damn who wrote them in-universe. They're a nice way to expand a bit on the lore in an otherwise rather story-starved game. Though there's probably only so much that fans of the series can throw into the data entries that can be considered canon, so they're kinda hamstrung in that regard. Bit annoying that for every entry we exit out of, we have to choose to enter the datapad again just to see the other entries in it. But then I assume the player is generally expected to check the lore entries as they pop up in the game if they ever do. Hell, you can easily go through the game without ever looking at the lore entries and still have a pretty damn good idea of what's going on. Anyway, that's enough reading for now. Time to go to the other end of this cavern and head deeper into the cave system. I certainly doubt we're gonna get lost in a path this basic. Is that supposed to be a Chozo head on the side of the, save point? Because part of me wants to say it's less of a head with a beak and more of a stylized kite shield of some kind. Though it'd make a lot more sense for there to be a Chozo head there instead of a shield, since this used to be a Chozo world of some variety after all. Again, I'm probably far too used to games where it's generally a good idea to kill each and every enemy you come across. Okay, kinda getting the distinct feeling this massive rock in this particular cavern that we keep having to climb is going to somehow end up more important than the other stuff we've been running along. Probably because it has a slightly different shade of brown and it looks like it was drawn on a different plane than the other terrain we've been running along. Okay, I know it doesn't really matter, but why in the hell are those bats wearing helmets? Okay, now we've got slightly different looking crawlers. Nothing especially menacing, but at least there's some level of visual variety. Unfortunately, I'm not too much of a fan of reskins unless the new enemy seems to work differently from the previous one that does that particular task. And as far as I can tell, that doesn't seem to be the case here. Okay, so the ones with tentacle hair can casually crawl through lava. I suppose that's something. Okay, that's certainly a new one. Not too sure how to react to something launching into the air like that, then gently dropping like a sheet of paper. And why is it that the flyers we've been dealing with look like they've been wearing various kinds of helmets? Seriously, the bats in the previous area looked like they were wearing some kind of cross between a German helmet from World War I and a Viking helmet. And now we've got some kind of drums there trying to cosplay as mobile suit heads? Or someone decided to make a very fat Spartan helmet and give it some horns for some reason. Either way, it's an odd look. Well, that floor certainly looks like something that should be able to give way at some point. Bit of a shame we have to reacquire the bombs still. Well, that's a nice hint that a Metroid's nearby. Not that the hint means anything, since we can't seem to get past this area just yet. At least not with what we've got right now. I'm not sure what was more embarrassing there. Missing every shot or dropping down when I didn't mean to. Certainly a good thing that Samus can jump higher at the start than the previous game, though maybe that's just an illusion due to the camera zooming out this time. Kind of an odd shape for the shaft here. Not even sure why they put such random zigzags on the walls like that. It couldn't be to deal with the wildlife in some fashion or another. I can say with utmost certainty that the wildlife does not give a damn about what sharp turns you shove onto the walls or ceiling. They're going to crawl and fly wherever they damn well please with ease. Well, of course the Chozo tech is all operating autonomously. The Chozo no longer exist. At least assuming some future game isn't gonna just have the Chozo show up in the flesh again for some reason. Can't really say for sure if that would be a good or bad idea in this series. Just that unless the execution was just right, it would annoy the hell out of people who already were pretty into the lore around here. I certainly wasn't a fan of Halo 4 bringing a Forerunner back from the dead after all. Or Mass Effect 3 doing the same with a Prothean. Another barrier that we just don't have the means to break through yet. I'm sorry, but why in the hell would the Chozo decide to make robotic heads that shoot fireballs? I could have sworn they were supposed to be a peaceful people and Samus' suit and weaponry were supposed to be their big exception. I know the game wants to have some barriers to get around, but come on. It seems a bit strange here. Well, at least it didn't take us long to find the bombs. Of course, with the number of paths that were blocked off until we got to them, it was kind of like we were being led to them. At least it wasn't an obnoxious kind of led here, with the game outright telling us where to go. It was us genuinely exploring, and this just happened to be the last available path. Was kinda hoping to find another upgrade, not a path around all the fire-spitting statue heads. Probably doesn't help that I was completely unintimidated by the damn things in the first place. Just annoyed by their very existence. Huh. Certainly appreciate that some of these blocks are visually distinct enough that we don't have to just bomb things and hope for the best all the time. Okay, a little strange to activate something when you don't know that something needs to be activated in the first place. Still, Considering how things went in Zero Mission, I appreciate any and every energy tank we can come across. Not sure why, but I prefer the bats with strange heads over other flyers we've been seeing so far in this game. Wouldn't really call the things that go up and down like that flyers, even if some of them shift around in strange directions on their way back down. Okay then, guess the next Metroid is a little further down. The Spider Ball, the little trick introduced in Metroid 2 that was constantly either forgotten about or just plain altered with the later games. Hold on, trying to figure it out, and in my stupidity, I'm throwing myself into easily avoided danger, as usual. Yeah. The Spider Ball may be slow, but it really opens things up by quite a bit. We can literally check the ceiling pretty early on, and it's no surprise why the few other times I've seen the Spider Ball, it feels like it's been nerfed compared to how it is in this Span remake. Hell, I'm shuddering just trying to imagine what it'd be like if we had no map at all with something like that. Sorry, Metroids, but there's literally nowhere you can hide from us. I assume those spikes on the ground are something we should avoid touching. Okay, that one did more damage than I was hoping, but still no danger of us dying before he did. It's probably unfair to say since we don't actually fight any baby Metroids in this game, but considering everything else we deal with, I can't help feeling that the first form is more dangerous than its immediate second form.